The Lolo Body Bar by Barmaids is an addictive and oh-so-decadent head-to-toe moisturizer made with all-natural skin-loving butters and oils. This amazing bar is most definitely one item that belongs in every fiber artist's stash. Working with yarns and fibers can be so rewarding even while it steals your moisture and leaves you raw. Lolo by Barmaids is luxurious, creamy, smooth, and so good for your skin. It's easy to use, and there's never any leftover residue that could destroy your latest masterpiece. Protect and soothe your capable, beautiful, creative hands. Trust me, just try the Lolo Bar. The results speak for themselves.
Hi, and welcome to Knitting Blooms. Today is Saturday, February 25th, and this is episode number 44. And you might notice that there's a little bit different of a setup behind me. I will get to all of that in my rambling, which I'm going to save for the end of the show this week, just because I think it might be a long show and I might have to cut my rambling short. So I'm going to save that for the end of the show this week. I want to start off by thanking all of the new members to the Ravelry group this week. We've had a big jump in numbers this week. I did some invites as well, and a lot of people are joining the group, so great. And I hope you'll also join into the conversations that are happening over there as well. I also want to thank those of you who have taken the time out to leave a star rating or a comment on iTunes. They are greatly appreciated. I did go in, I think we got, in the last couple of weeks since the beginning of February, I think we've gotten a couple of comments and I don't know, a few more star ratings, but thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it, as do all of your other podcasters. Those star ratings and comments help other people find the podcast and determine if it's something that they would enjoy. So thank you very much for that. This week I have been a podcast watching fool. I have watched a lot of podcasts. My boss was on vacation last week, and he was on vacation this week. And he was supposed to be back in the office on Wednesday. However, he got stuck at the airport on Wednesday and was not able to get back to the office until Thursday. So I basically had one extra day of working vacation. So I was all set to have him back in the office on Wednesday, and I got a reprieve and got to watch more podcasts. So I've been checking out some new ones and getting caught up on them. And I'm sorry if you hear the banging. My husband's making macaroni and cheese upstairs. And I don't know why there's banging making macaroni and cheese, but whatever. So I've been watching a lot of new podcasts this week and getting caught up on them. And I really like it. I watch a lot of podcasts. And I think I mentioned last week that I am watching podcasts from my blog. I usually watch them on iTunes and on my Apple TV, which I still watch them on my Apple TV when I'm at home. But when I'm at work, I've been watching them from my blog. And it makes it so much easier because on the, I think it's the right side of my blog, it shows all of the podcasts that I watch. And it moves the podcast to the top when there's a new update. So it makes it easy to determine what I watched last, because I try and watch them in order, and then go to the next one on the list. And then it reminds me when there's an update. So it's made me keeping up to date on the podcast as they come out a lot easier, because in iTunes, when I'm watching them at work, sometimes I don't know which ones have come out. I just see them downloading, and then I have such a huge list of podcasts that sometimes I forget to check certain ones, because certain ones I only keep the episodes that I haven't watched. So certain podcasts only have one episode in their little slot, and sometimes I can zoom right past them and miss them altogether. So watching them from the blog has really helped stay current. I'm still way behind on some podcasts, but it has helped me stay current on the ones that I watch regularly. And what I'm doing is, if there's a podcast that I'm not current on, I'll watch the current episode and then go back and watch at least one older episode as well. So this week, some of the podcasts that I've been watching are Retro Lemon, which is Jenna is the hostess of that podcast, and I think she's only on episode 2. I heard about this podcast on Knittables from Diane, and I checked it out last week, and I checked out the first episode, and then she had a second episode, so I watched that. And she is so cute. She also makes little monsters, and I think her first monster might have been, actually, I don't know if it was her first monster. It was the one that she's promoting on her show, which is Chelsea the Chatterbox Monster, and it's so cute. But I also checked out her design page, and she also has another monster on there, and some other patterns too. So check out her show and check out her patterns, because if you didn't watch the podcast where Diane received one of those Chelsea the Chatterbox monsters, they're so cute. They're so cute. Another one that I've been watching is What You Swatchin'. And Emily does that show, and she lives in the D.C. area, and I am from the D.C. area. I actually grew up in Sterling, Virginia, and I lived there for the first almost 19 years of my life. Actually, no, just about 18 years, because I moved away a few months after my 18th birthday. So I've been watching her show, and it's fun to hear about her adventures, and she's going to be getting married soon, and so she's been talking about her pending wedding, and it sounds like she wants to do something more casual and have a whole group of people, and it just sounds so relaxing. I mean, when Steve and I got married, we got married in our backyard, and we had a whole slew of people here, and I had knitters, we had it was catered by a friend of his. A friend of his owns a restaurant and bar, and they catered it and took care of, he brought in bartenders and everything. So it was perfect. I mean, it was an outdoor wedding, it was a June day, and it was wonderful. So I can understand having just a relaxed wedding and not, trying to do the whole hoopla. I did that before, and it ended in divorce, so what's the point? For me, that's the relaxed wedding worked out perfectly, and it's kind of how our life is, just relaxed, and you go day by day, and what happens happens kind of thing. So she's talking about that, and she's also taken up spinning, which is fun, because I think she got a ladybug wheel as well. I have a ladybug, and I swear by them. I love my ladybug wheel. And then I've also been watching Girlfriends Knitting. I think she's on episode 5 or 6. Are you coming down to be a studio audience?
Do I have to obey the applaud sign?
So Girlfriends Knitting, she's Carolyn. I think, like I said, I think she's on like episode 5 or 6. And she talks all about our knitting, and she just started a Biggest Loser contest with her school. And so I am a big fan of Biggest Loser, so I love hearing about people's progress on, okay, if you're going to be down here, you got to be quiet eating.
Let me grab my belt.
So she started a Biggest Loser contest with the school, and I love the Biggest Loser. It is just so motivational to me. It keeps me on track with my own exercise program. And I love to hear about the progress of other people. And so that's fun to watch and get her updates every week. Another one that I've been watching is Knit Me Happy. And that is done by Rachel. And if you've seen this podcast, you will know one of the main reasons why I love this podcast is she is a huge animal lover. She has 2 dogs, and I think she said 7 cats. I've only seen one of the cats on the podcast. The other cats tend to not be around, but I think she said 7. Now, maybe she only has the one, but anyway, she is really cute, and her husband is also a military person, and she just does lots of knitting. She's getting her PhD, but I'm not sure what she's getting her PhD in. And the last one that I'll talk about today is Wexford Knits, and Rebecca does that show. And I've only watched, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of her show, but she does have a lot of spinning content and knitting content, and she definitely does reviews and that sort of thing. So if you're looking for some new podcasts, check out those podcasts because they're all awesome. And they're all in my sidebar. And if you want to do what I'm doing and follow it on the blog, go check out my blog and see all of the podcasts that I watch, and just check in there daily for the updates because it's amazing how much easier it is for me to keep up to date on my podcasts. And if you have a podcast and your podcast is not on my list, let me know, because it's not necessarily because I don't like your podcast. Maybe I don't know about it. I just found another one today, 3 Stitches. I haven't even had a chance to watch that one. And I think there's another one, Meg and something and me or something, I don't remember, that I need to check out as well. I heard about it on another podcast, and I wrote it down, and I've checked. I try and go and find them on Google search, and sometimes like the Meg and me, I thought it said Megan and something, I don't know. But I think I did find it, and I think that one is on my list. But if it hasn't had a recent update, I haven't watched the show because, like I said, I'm trying to stay current with the ones. So, yeah, lots of new podcasts this week, and I am staying up to date. I think when I checked my blog just a little bit ago after I watched my morning podcast, I only have 2 more podcasts to catch up to be current. But I'm sure that there will be more podcasts posts today and tomorrow, and I'll be behind again. But like I said, I'm just trying to keep up with the current and then catch up with the old ones as I can. So yeah, lots and lots of podcasts. So, let's jump in. I'm going to not jump around, but I'm going to go in a little different order today just because of how I have stuff kind of stacked over here. Again, we have a different setup today, so it's a little different. Okay, so we're going to start with spinning. And last week I had told you that I was almost done with my Blue Moon Fiber Arts Polworth. And I suspected that I wouldn't be able to apply it until today after I recorded. However, it's all spun, plied, washed, dried, and everything. Saturday and Sunday, I was a spinning fool. And I finished all of it. It was like, it was at least an ounce left, if not more. And I finished it up and started plying it Monday, I think it was Monday morning before I went to work. It might have been Monday night. and I absolutely love it. It's in two skeins because it was a total of 8 ounces of fiber, and I spun as much as I possibly could onto the bobbin before it just was no more room, and I had to split it. So I'm just going to open it up here for you. I love it. I absolutely love how it turned out. I love the barber poling with it. The colors go together so nicely. It is a 3-ply that I did, a natural 3-ply where you take 3 separate plies and ply them together. It's not Navajo plied because I did want to try to knit socks with it. I really wanted to knit a pair of socks and a shawl. However, I didn't get as much yardage as I thought I would out of it. I want to say that my yardage was around, I have it posted on my page. I think it was almost 600 yards. Let me see if I can just jump over there real quick to see how many yards it was. Okie dokie. 800. I was looking at the meters and then I said, no, that's wrong. And it's 586 yards. So it's just under 600 yards. But truly, I was expecting a lot more than that because I have gotten, now this is a 3-ply fingering. I have gotten almost 800 yards, and this was 8 ounces. I've gotten almost 800 yards of lace weight 2-ply out of 4 ounces. This was 8 ounces, so I was expecting to get around 800 yards. I'm nowhere close to 800 yards. I'm not even 600 yards. So I know it's a lot thicker and it is a 3-ply, but I really thought I was going to get more yardage. So now I have to decide if I want to make a shawl with it, or if I want to just do a pair of socks and then figure out how much yardage I have left. I would say that it is a heavier fingering weight. Let me open this one up and show you this one. I think it is a heavier fingering weight. Not extremely, I wouldn't say it's a heavy fingering weight, but it's not a light fingering. So it is thicker. And I would probably say it's maybe between a medium and a heavy Socks That Rock. Maybe a medium. I guess I really haven't put it beside another commercial grade sock yarn to really say. And I didn't check wraps per inch or anything like that. I figured I would just knit up a swatch or just start whatever I'm going to do, and if it's not the right size needle, then I would change needle size. I did have a tiny bit left over on 2 bobbins, actually. Yeah, on 2 bobbins I had a tiny bit left over, so I did just knit or spin up a 2-ply, and I don't know how many yards this is. I would guess probably maybe 20 yards of a 2-ply. And this is definitely a fingering, a light fingering, if not lace, 2-ply. So I'll show you that up close. So you can see the difference between the two. Big difference between the two. So, and again, I don't know, this little tiny bit, I'm not sure what I would do with it. I could probably just use it in my sock yarn blanket. It would be a lighter weight yarn, but it's not a big deal. As long as I use the same size needles, it would work out fine. So, but I love the fiber. It feels kind of a little stiff because I think I might have plied it a little tight, but I kind of like the twist on it. It was very, very kinky and scrunched up and everything before I washed and thwacked it. But once I washed and thwacked it, it relaxed quite a bit. And it is, I think it's pretty balanced. Yeah. So once it was washed and thwacked, this was the first hand spun that I did not basically weigh down. Now, when I say weigh down, I don't weigh down my yarn when I hang it to dry, but I do take like a hanger and just hang it underneath, and then put like a ShamWow on the hanger, because when the yarn drips, if I don't have that ShamWow on the hanger that's hanging off of the yarn, it just drips onto the floor and makes a mess. And I just would rather have the ShamWow catch all the excess water that's going to drip off of it. But I didn't do that this time, and it did drip a little bit on the floor, but not a huge amount. I did try and make sure that I squeezed out as much of the excess water as I could before I hung it up. So that is my finished spinning. Now, let's talk about, and I'm going to try and put this, I'm afraid the cats are going to get it, so hang on a second. I'll put it there. Now, we'll talk about the spinning that I started. I didn't want to start this spinning until I got my woolly winder for my sidekick. And I got my woolly winder for my sidekick on Thursday. And so Thursday night, I started spinning on my sidekick. And I started spinning, sorry for the crinkle, but I'm going to take it out. I started spinning this. I talked about this before. This is the Giggle Jelly merino and tussa silk in the cherry colorway. And it still scares the heck out of me because it's like, look at all the fuzz coming off. And I started spinning this on my sidekick on Thursday. And I was struggling. I don't know why, but I was having a lot of trouble with it. And I think one of the reasons is because it's a new type of fiber for me, and it's a new wheel. Because I've done some practice spinning on my sidekick, but nothing where I've tried to get a specific weight of a single or anything like that. So I decided to move it back to my Ladybug because I feel more comfortable on it. Because it's a new fiber, I just want to feel comfortable spinning it. I don't want it to be a struggle. Now, I am going to put something else on my sidekick. I haven't decided exactly what yet, but I definitely want to get more time spinning on my sidekick because I can spin on it. That's not the issue. It's just that it's new and it's different and it's not my Ladybug, so I need to get more comfortable spinning on it. So I did move this back to my Ladybug, and here's the bobbin, and I am spinning up a thin single, and I had planned on two-plying it, but when I tried to do the two-ply, I think it's going to be way too thin, because I think with the tussa silk and the merino, I think it's going to be a thin two-ply, which you saw even this, which was spun a little bit thicker, is still a thin two-ply. And I do want to three-ply it. So I did last week, I did order another 4 ounces of this fiber from Giggle Jelly so that I could have 3 4-ounce bumps. And so I could spin each one of them up separately and then ply them together. So I did order another 4-ounce bump, which I also got. And I'm not going to show it to you because it's in one of those crinkle bags and it's sitting right over there. And it looks the same. So I'm happy about that. Plus the fact that I got less than 500 or less than 600 yards of Blue Moon Fiber Arts with a 3-ply. And I definitely want to spin up this yarn and be able to make a pair of socks and some other garment or something. Hopefully a shawl for my mom when it's done. So I'm glad that I got the extra bump, and I'm hoping that I will get close to 800, if not more, yardage on this fiber. So I did the card thing again. I haven't labeled them yet, but here's my card. There's the single that I did, and there is the 3-ply, which is still quite small as a 3-ply. And here's just an extra piece that I had, because I did an extra piece, because it's just fun to do samples. I wanted to make sure, because I started spinning, like I said, I started spinning on my sidekick, and I was noticing a lot of inconsistency. It was very thin, but it was still a little bit too inconsistent for my liking. And there was some really thin spots and then some little bit thicker spots. So I just wanted to make sure once I moved it over to my ladybug that I was getting a little bit more consistent. Now, granted, this piece is only about 1 yard long, and so it's only basically 3 yards of singles. So you can't really judge how consistent you are in 3 yards, but at least it's something. I can continue to pull samples as I go, and I have my card that I can reference as I'm spinning. Again, there's the single, which is quite thin, and I'll put my hand up here to show you, and then the 3-ply. And the camera is not doing it justice, and it could be how I have my lights set up today, because I had to really rearrange my lighting section because I was getting a glare in the cabinet fronts, and I didn't like it. And I wanted you to be able to see the yarn, and you can't see the yarn if there's a glare. So I am enjoying spinning this much better on my ladybug. And I will be putting something else on the sidekick, probably a plain undyed fiber that I could just sit and relax and spin it. And I'll still do a card and everything with it so I can get a consistency, and then I'll dye the fiber when I'm done. It'll probably be, I have some Corriedale, and I also have some Polworth and some Merino undyed that I have purchased. So I might put that on there, or I might pick something else that I've got in my stash. And speaking of stash, I got my Wool Gatherings fiber sampler. And there's 25 breeds of fiber here. And I'm excited to get started spinning it. I know that there are going to be some of these fibers, and here I've got them all in my bin. I know that there's going to be some fibers in here that I'm not going to like. I can just tell just by putting my hands over them that some of them are not very soft. Some of them are scratchy. Some of them are just very hairy. But you know what? That's what a fiber sampler is all about. To try different things, to get a feel for them, to know if you like them, whatever. And I'm sure that maybe once I spin them, there are going to be some that I like, even though I don't like the feel of the fiber in the little bat. But I'm very excited about getting this started. I was going to try and keep up with Kagi from the High Fiber Diet. She's doing this fiber study right now, but I think she's already 3 breeds in, and I might try and catch up, but I'm not sure. But now, and I was originally planning on spinning this on my ladybug because I was going to spin the other on my sidekick. However, now that I've moved the Giggle Jelly over to my ladybug, I'm not sure that I want to put this on my sidekick for the same reason that I didn't enjoy spinning the Giggle Jelly on my sidekick, because I'm not real comfortable with that wheel yet. So either I'm going to take a break from the Giggle Jelly every now and then to spin up a little bat of this fiber, or I'm going to wait till I'm more comfortable on my sidekick to get it started. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'll keep you up to date on my progress. But my plan is going to be, for each one of these fibers, my plan is going to be to save a bit of the fiber, don't spin it, save a bit of the fiber, start spinning it, make these little cards with a single, a 2-ply, and a 3-ply of the fiber, and I don't know if I'm going to 2-ply it or 3. I'll probably just 2-ply it on itself. Hopefully when I go to Knitopia, Kagi can show me what I'm doing wrong with the whole plying it on itself thing, and I can get that worked out. Or I might just have to order one of those Andean plying tools, because I'm inept at plying from the ball winder. So that's my plan, and then I want to keep the samples, and then I'm going to try and do them all the same, like either 2-ply or 3-ply or whatever I'm going to do, so that I can make some kind of project out of all the samples. And this is only 24 breeds, so I don't know which podcast it was, but somebody was saying that there's like over 300 breeds. It might have even been Kagi and Sarge talking about it. But I am looking forward to starting spinning these and trying them out. And like I said, there are some in here that are just so soft and so luscious that I know that they're going to be a joy to spin. So, I will, like I said, I'll keep you updated on my progress on that. So, let's get into the knitting. I have a finished object, and it's not blocked. Usually, I would have blocked this. I finished this on Thursday, and it's my citron. I would have blocked it on Friday. It would have blocked and dried quickly. However, the cats were locked in my spare bedroom / blocking room most of the day on Friday while the insulation was getting installed. And I didn't want this piece of goodness being subjected to cats. But here it is. I have 7 sections, and I was right in the middle of the pucker section for section 7 when I showed it to you last week. I think it's going to be a decent size. I would have probably gone to 8 sections if I wasn't worried that I would run out of yarn. I did have quite a bit left over. I had about 18 ounces of yarn left over. And I think that if I had gone to 8 sections, I would have been really on the edge the whole time, wondering if I'm going to have enough yarn. And I think that I may have had to cut the ruffle short if I went to 18. So I have some left over. I think this is fine, and I think it will block out. Even not blocked out, it's almost as wide as my wingspan, and if I stretch it, it goes as wide as my wingspan, and possibly when I actually do the blocking, it might even grow even more than that. I really love how it turned out. I love the color. I love the puckers. I almost don't even want to block it because I'm afraid that I'll stretch it to an inch of its life and I'll lose the pucker. But I love it. It doesn't really, this pink doesn't go with this pink, but I'll have to wear it with a green shirt or something. Excuse me. But I love it. It will get blocked out this weekend, hopefully. And hopefully I will get to wear it very soon. The ends still need to be woven in. Oh, and I will be using the Infinity wires that were sent to me for a review. These are the lace blocking wires. These were sent to me. And to be honest, I was thinking about buying some of these wires before I received the gift to the podcast for a review. So I went ahead this week and I bought the other set. This is the lace blocking set, and this is the regular premium blocking set. These wires are a little heavier and are good for fingering weight and above. These are good for lace and fingering weight. So I know these wires are going to be amazing. So it doesn't bother me that I purchased the other set on my own. And more than likely, I am going to purchase the... More than likely, I am going to purchase the extra long wires as well, because I have some plans in my future for either a large circular saw. That would be what my husband buys. Circular shawl, or just in general a big lace shawl. So I think that the long wires will also be a benefit to me as well. So that will be the next thing that I purchase, is one of the ultra long sets. But I know that these are going to be absolutely amazing. As Diane would say, they're magic wires. And I will be able to give you my opinion firsthand next week after I get a chance to use them. So that's my citron. And it's done. I think that was started in, I think it was October of last year. I think that's when the knit along for Dramatic Knits started. Marty, don't chew on that. Come on. Here. Come here. This is the Fluff Bucket. Sit right here. So, and I don't think Callie's done with hers yet. Callie, is your citron done yet? You need to get it done. I feel like I at least got mine done before the hostess of the cow. At least I don't think hers is done. The last time I watched her podcast, which was last weekend, I don't think she was done, but I don't think she had worked on it in a while. Are you going to sit still? Yeah? Come over here. Crazy. So, please don't knock that off. The next thing that I've been working on this week is my modified Lady Eleanor. After I finished the citron, I went straight to work on this. Marty, I need this bucket up here. Here, there you go. Go over there. Okay, so I started working on this because this is the only other project that has been on the needles since before November of last year. And it's growing, growing, growing. I've done another 5 rows. There's my dicky-doo. And I've done 5 more rows of the interlock. And this is all since Thursday. No, don't chew on that. There's something about this plastic from these Giggle Jellies that they just want to chew on it. This bag is totally, I don't know if you can see, but they have ripped it and torn it and tried to eat it, and leave them alone. So, 5 more rows on this. I am getting so excited. I mean, this is actually doable to finish it before the end of the month. I might actually finish this before the end of the month. And that's my main goal. Now, I have to tell you that when I was working on it this week, I realized that this is how much I've done in the last month. Okay, so this is about nine rows. All of this from here to here, this last block on here, wrong. I'm not ripping it out to go back and fix it. Sorry. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable, but let me show you what the difference is. And I don't even know if you'll be able to tell. This block, you see some pearl bumps right there? This block doesn't have those pearl bumps. Because I was supposed to knit the last stitch on the wrong side rows when I was doing the purl rows. Marty, don't push the camera, please. But I didn't, because I was purling backwards, and I'd get to the end of the row and I'd just purl 2 together. Well, I wasn't supposed to be purling 2 together. I was supposed to knit 2 together on that edge, so that it gave kind of like a one garter stitch edge. This side on the other side is right on the back side, because the purls, how I had to pick up the stitches and do everything, I actually read the pattern and did it properly, but I didn't do it on this side. I've done the last 1, 2, 3, 4, so the last 4 end triangles right, but every one before that, wrong. Again, it's not going to be noticeable. I think that once it blocks out, it'll lay flat and it'll be fine. Granted, these triangles that have the bumps on them lay a little bit flatter already than the bumps that don't, than the triangles that don't. I'm not going to worry about it. At this point, I'm just so happy that it's almost done. I've had this on the needles since May of 2010. I love it. It's going to be so awesome when it's done. And I don't want to have to go back and redo it. Now, here is my dilemma. I think it was last week that I wore the loopy triangle shawl with all the fringe. And I found out that fringe is not my friend. So now I'm wondering if I'm going to want to put fringe on this shawl. And I really don't know. So I'm asking for your suggestions. If I should put fringe on it, if I should just leave it as is. After it's blocked, I think it'll look much nicer. But just leave it, you know, with the triangles. Should I put some kind of edging on it? What are your suggestions? I'm up for anything. But I need to know before I start my third ball. No, maybe not before I start it. This is what I have left before I start my fourth ball. This is what I have left of the third ball, which is not much, and this will be done probably almost before the show goes live, so I still have 1 full ball left. But I need to know what I'm going to do about the edging before I get too far into this 4th ball, because if I'm going to do anything on the edging, I need to save enough yarn for it. So tell me what you think. And if you think I should put an edging on it, what edging should I do? Should I do some kind of a knitted edging? Should I do a crocheted edging? Should I leave it as is? You tell me, because honestly, I love it as it is now, but if it would look 100% better by putting an edging on it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I just don't know which to use. Haven't done a lot of edgings on things, so I'm just not sure. So I would like your opinion on it, and we'll go from there. But I'm hoping, today's the 25th. I have 4 more days in the month, and I'm hoping to still get it done before the end of the month. So hopefully somebody will tell me what to do with it before the end of the month, within the next couple days. And I know a lot of you watch this podcast right away as soon as it comes out, because within 24 hours of posting the podcast, 500 people have either downloaded or watched it. So I think there's going to be plenty of people to give me suggestions right away. So that's my modified Lady Eleanor. And that is all my knitting for this week. Yep, all my knitting. I was focused on the Citron. I think I did do a little bit on the Peonies Please socks, but not enough to even bother bringing them out. But I was focused on getting those projects done, the old projects, and I am very, very happy with my progress this month. Because next month, it's all about the March Madness and knitting for hire. And speaking of March Madness, I'm going to show you again the yarn that was chosen for me. For me to knit for the challenge. It is the Lorna's Laces Soulmate. And last week I was such a dope. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. And Stealth Dragon, who is Sam from the Knit Run Dig podcast, she was the one that got to choose my yarn. I drew the name and I contacted her, and I didn't even put 2 and 2 together when because I've watched her show before. I think she's had a couple she didn't do episodes for a while, and she's just started back up again. And I was watching her episode yesterday, and I'm like, she just said Stealth Dragon was her name on Ravelry. I'm like, that's who chose my yarn. And I'm like, I can't believe I didn't put that together before. But I guess when I first start watching a podcast, sometimes I don't link the Ravelry and the podcast. I don't know. Anyway, so if you haven't checked out her podcast, she's got a very cool podcast as well. And I think I started watching her podcast when I really started getting into running last year. And she does a little running segment on her podcast. So that was fun for me. So this is the yarn that I will be using. And of course, like anything else, I haven't been able to decide what I'm going to do with it. I've gone back and forth on what I'm going to do. I really want to make socks with this Soulmate yarn. Now, I have 4 other skeins of Soulmate. So, I don't have to make socks with this particular skein, but I really want to make socks with this yarn real soon. And I know the whole month of March is going to be March Madness and pretty much knitting for hire. Other than the mystery knit along that I'm going to start with knitting like crazy. I did her mystery knit along last year and I really enjoyed it. And I happened to be on that group earlier this week, and I saw that the next one is starting March 1st, or actually I think it doesn't actually start March 1st. I think it actually starts March 3rd or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm planning on doing the mystery knit along with them again because I enjoyed it last year. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Sarah from Rain Lover Knits, she's doing she's writing a shawl pattern that looked really cool. That might look cool with this yarn. But I don't think that pattern is anywhere close to being out by March 3rd or March 1st, so I can start on it. Yeah. I thought about doing socks with a small little cable on them. I haven't decided. It's in the works. I need to think about it more. Okay, so that hopefully next week I'll know what I'm doing and I'll have it started. Quickly run through my enabling, because we're already 50 minutes in and I still haven't done my chitter chatter. Oh, first let me talk about this. Last week I told you about Bacardi and I had a mistakeification. And I'm happy to say that nobody saw it. Now, there was one mistakeification that I didn't even see that a couple people did point out to me. But this isn't the one that I was thinking of. And that one is right here. A couple people pointed this out. These two squares are closer together than the rest of them. So, yep, that is a mistakeification. However, that's not the one that I saw. And because nobody else saw it, not one other person told me that they saw it. Now, I'm sure that there's people out there that just didn't email me or PM me and tell me that they saw it, but here it is. See right here? This green stripe? It's not on the sleeve. I totally skipped that row when I was doing the sleeve. See that? But, Sammy, so there's the mistakeification, and it's on both sleeves because I did both sleeves. Hey, I did both sleeves at the same time. So that was my mistakeification, and come here, you. Sit down with me. So I'm kind of glad that nobody else saw it, or nobody else pointed it out to me. I'm not sure how many people actually saw it. All right, you, sit still. I'm going to start calling you Fred. So let's talk about my enabling. I have a couple things to show you. This is from Fat Cat Knits. Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head who was spinning some stuff with this. I want to say it was Wendy from Knit One Heart 2. So I went over to their site and got this. I'm a little nervous about this pink because it's extremely bright, and the camera, it's so much brighter in person. The camera, it looks awesome on camera. It looks like an awesome, awesome colorway. But in person, the pink is like, whoa! But I think it's going to be beautiful because when I spin it up and ply it, I think it's going to be awesome. And what I'm thinking about doing with this one is actually spinning an undyed fiber to ply with it. So this will get spun straight out, straight from the bump or the braid or whatever. And then I will spin an undyed fiber. This is actually 6 ounces, and I'll spin an undyed fiber to ply with it. So, and I might even do a 3-ply. That's an idea. I might, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit you in the head. I might do 2 plies of a natural and then this, so it will be very muted. That would be an interesting combination, I think. I might have to spin up a sample and see how I like that. Yeah, that might be fun. I could put that on my sidekick. So that's from Fat Cat Knits. And again, this is 6 ounces, so that's a good lump of fiber. And then I got, along with my Giggle Jelly, the Merino and Tussa Silk, I got another Giggle Jelly ball. I got my geranium that I've been waiting for. Amy from Knitting in Circles, she had gotten some of these not too long ago, and I saw them and I loved them. And when I placed my order with the Giggle Jelly a few weeks ago, she was out of stock of these, and she told me she would let me know when they came back in stock. And when I contacted her last week about ordering some more of that cherry colorway, she said, I got some some geranium back in stock, and I can ship that with it. I said, great, I want it. So I have 3 of these little Giggle Jelly balls. And yes, Steve, they are Giggle Jelly balls. Love it. And then I also got my Bouncing with Brody from Highland Handmaids, which I am planning on knitting my No More Tears socks in, which is what the pattern from Erin at Mommy Needs Yarn. She did the pattern No More Tears for a fundraising effort for the Autism Speaks, which I did purchase that pattern. I was just waiting for my Bouncing with Brody yarn, and I will make some socks with this. Again, I don't think that this is going to be started anytime soon because I'm really going to focus on knitting for hire in March. And lastly, I want to talk about this fiber that I got. This is from Three Waters Farm, and it's very lovely. And the fiber is soft and squishy. I do want to mention that the advertisement on Etsy stated 4 ounces of fiber, and there is barely even it's under 3 3/4 ounces. And I was kind of disappointed by that because a lot of times I buy fiber specifically because of the weight. If I'm looking for something that's 4 ounces, I want 4 ounces. That's why 6 ounces, awesome, love it. And pretty much all of the other fibers that I've received before, if it says 4 ounces, they're either 4 ounces or a little bit more, or maybe a tiny bit less, but not a 1/4 ounce. I did contact her, and she was willing to give me credit for the 1/4 ounce that I didn't receive, which she did. But to be completely honest, the $1.65 that I got back, I love the fiber, don't get me wrong. It's nice, it's squishy. I'm definitely going to be buying more from her, but I just didn't think that I told her I didn't need the credit. It wasn't necessary. She did it anyway. I didn't really need the $1.65 back. But I was kind of disappointed. Her prices are a lot higher than a lot of the Etsy sellers. This bump here was $21.95, and then when you tack shipping on top of that, so I think I paid like maybe $25 for a bump of fiber. I think in the future I'll probably be buying more than one bump at a time if I buy from this seller again, just because the prices are higher than other Etsy sellers. They're gorgeous colors. They are gorgeous, and the fiber is really nice. But I was just kind of disappointed. She did say that that's not a standard practice, that the bumps being short of ounces. So I am happy to hear that, which is why I will be purchasing more from them in the future. However, I was just a little disappointed in that. So I'm sure that will get spun up sometime in the near future. Let's see, what else do we have for today? Oh, what I did want to ask you, I know a lot of the different podcasters, say the yarn that they're using and the needle size and the project name and the designer when they're doing the podcast. And I know that a lot of times I don't mention those things when I'm actually talking about the project. Sometimes I do. A lot of times I'll just put the banner at the bottom. I want to know what you want to hear. I know for me, when I'm watching other podcasts, yes, I want to know the yarn. But as long as as long as the project page is up to date, and I can get to that from the link in the show notes, or just by them saying, this is my Citron, or this is my Lady Eleanor, or whatever, I can go to their project page and look at that information, which is what I usually do. But some people don't have Ravelry, so they can't get into the project pages. So let me know what you want to hear. Do you want me to tell you what yarn it is that I'm using every single week? Do you want me to tell you the pattern name every single week along with the designer? To me, the designer is an important part, but as long as I know the pattern name, I can find out who the designer is. So I guess I'm just asking you guys, what information do you want me to include? Do the banners at the bottom of the screen help you at all? Do you really need to know my needle size? Because technically, I don't even pay attention to what other people's needle sizes are because everybody knits differently. What I use on a project is not what 6 other people are going to use on that same project. So let me know what helps you out, and I'll be happy to include the information that is beneficial to you, and then it will save me time from having to repeat things that are useless to people. We do have to do a barmaids giveaway quickly. So let me do that, and the show is going to be over an hour again. I'm sorry for that. I did do the drawing a little bit ago. There was 97 people who posted in the barmaids drawing for this week, and it is for a Lolo bar. Yep, a Lolo bar. And the person who won was number 46. And number 46 is Ravelry ID Sins. And that is CINS. And that's Cindy from Ohio. So Cindy, get in contact with me. And I will tell you how to get your Lolo bar. And there will be another thread up in the group for a travel pack for this week. And you can enter to try and win that. So, that's all I have for knitting content. So, if you don't care about my life issues, I'll talk to you next week. Otherwise, you can stick around for the next couple of minutes and I'll give you a synopsis about what happened yesterday with the insulation people. So, yesterday, we've been working on getting the insulation stuff taken care of for a couple months now. Finally, yesterday, the insulation people showed up at 8:30 in the morning. No, please don't play with that. And we immediately went up in the attic and they started looking at stuff and found out that the upper portion of the attic is really small. Yes, they can get in there and do it, but the side angle walls are much longer than they expected. They're about 4 feet, and what we didn't know is that in some of those cavities that are going up the angles, there was insulation, batt insulation, that whoever installed them, they stapled them in. So when they tried to pull the batts of insulation out of those cavities, some of the paper got stuck in there. So there was no possible way to get all of the batt insulation out of the angled cavities, and as well as the paper. And what that meant was that if they tried to spray the foam insulation in those cavities, they were not going to get filled properly. So, needless to say, we did not have the foam insulation put in the attic yesterday. We basically found out that we pretty much have to gut our bedroom. And really, that's an aggressive word. We have to basically cut a 2-foot hole in every single cavity. We have to basically cut all the way down the whole length of the house, which is like 30 feet on both sides. It might be more than 30 feet. I think it's around 30 feet. 2-foot section so that they can reach up one side and down the other and clean out the sections to be able to install the foam properly. Now, I appreciate that they didn't just do it and walk away, because a lot of companies would do that. They would say, okay, we'll do it. They know in their head it's going to be halfway done, not done properly. And but they do it anyway just because they want to get the money and they want to just get it done. And they're going to be gone. They're going to do the job and leave, and we aren't going to know right away that it's not done properly. So I appreciate that they said, look, we can't really do this the proper way. The best way to get it done is to cut this hole, clean out all that insulation, and then we can come back and do it the proper way. So I do appreciate that they did say that. I wasn't real happy about having to basically gut the bedroom, but you got to do what you got to do. So that's our plan, but we don't want to do that now because it's cold, and once we rip out all that insulation, we're going to be losing heat, and so we're going to wait until after Knitopia, sometime in April, probably as soon as I get back from Knitopia, we will start the deconstruction of the bedroom, because that means we have to take everything out of the bedroom and store it somewhere else. And I hate clutter. I don't care if it's temporary. I don't like clutter. I've been struggling all week with having all the stuff from the attic in my bedroom while we were thinking that it was going to get done this week. So I hate clutter. So it's going to drive me crazy, and our thought is that we will pack up all of our clothes. We will basically live out of a suitcase for a couple of weeks, probably up to a month and a half. And we will move all the furniture, put it in the garage temporarily, and just do what we need to do. That will also give us the opportunity to repaint the bedroom, because it desperately needs it. And I've been wanting to repaint the bedroom for a while. I just think of the hassle that it's going to be to do it, that I've put it off. So this will give us the opportunity to do that. It'll also give us the opportunity to make any changes to the configuration of the bedroom, if we want to put the closet a little bit different or whatever. So that was a letdown yesterday that we couldn't get that insulation installed, but they were able to install the insulation in the basement. And what I found out was that when you take out batt insulation that has been in the floor of the basement for 30 plus years, it makes a mess. Now, they covered a lot of things, but boy, did that stuff make a mess. All the dust and grime and stuff that's been collecting for the last 30 or 40 years that it's been up there. Oh my gosh. So they finished up here yesterday around a little afternoon, and we spent the entire rest of the day reorganizing, cleaning up. They swept. I was down here watching them clean up, and they were sweeping the floor. And I'm thinking, oh, you didn't have to do that. I would have done that. Because I'm thinking, it's not that bad, But they had already swept up a lot of stuff. And you know what? When we started moving stuff, there was still a ton of stuff. I was sweeping for probably 3 hours. Every time we moved anything, it was like more sweeping. It was crazy. And then all the dust on different things, and having to wipe everything down, and then put everything back that had to be pulled out. It was a lot of work. And so we spent all afternoon doing that. But what happened before that was, when they were finishing up, I was watching podcasts on the TV upstairs. And actually, I was watching podcasts earlier when they were working, when they were getting set up, and then they came in and said, oh, we need to shut the power off so we can hook this thing up or whatever. and then it'll only be down for about 15 seconds. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I turned off Apple TV, and we turned off all the computers and everything, and they turned everything back on. Well, I didn't start watching podcasts right away, but then I went back to it and was watching podcasts. Well, started to watch podcast. As soon as I turned it back on, it said there was an update to be had. And I said, okay, well, I'll go ahead and do the update. It's usually pretty quick. So I started the update. And if you have an Apple TV, you know that it specifically states, do not turn off your Apple TV during this update. Do not cut power, do not unplug, whatever. Right in the middle of the update, they cut the power again with no warning. None. The first time they came in and said, hey, we got to shut the power off. If you have computers on, you might want to turn them off. Great. That warned us. They didn't do that when they were ready to shut the power off again, to unplug their equipment and take it out. Needless to say, my Apple TV was fried. I was not happy about that. They did offer to pay for it. Apple TV is only $100. When I started talking about when I told them that they blew up my Apple TV, they were like, "Oh my gosh!" And the TV in the living room is a 55-inch rear projection TV. So the guy, the owner, or the sales guy, or the main supervisor guy, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pay for this 55-inch TV," and he's like, you hang on to the money. Don't worry about paying us until we find out how much it is going to cost to repair this thing. And I'm like, look, it's only $100, And he's like, $100? What do you mean $100? They're thinking I'm talking about the TV has been blown up. And I'm like, no, it's just the Apple TV. It's just the little device that I use to access the internet so I can watch Netflix and podcasts and whatever on the TV. And they're like, oh, okay. Not a problem. We'll take care of that. No big deal. So it's just going to be a hassle because now we have to go get another Apple TV. Now, luckily, I have 2 Apple TVs, but I like having them on each TV because if Steve wants to watch a program in the basement, I can watch podcasts upstairs and vice versa. So that was not a fun thing, but, whatever. So that was my rambling. It was crazy. Yesterday, Steve took me out for a Mexican, and I had a margarita, which helped. Because after all of that, I needed it. And after all of the having to clean up, which is why my setup changed, because when we moved the cabinets out from the wall, and we put them side by side in the middle of the room, I was like, oh, look at that lovely bit of goodness. Look at all that yarn all together in one, yarn wall. And I just could not stop looking at it. And I'm like, we need to find a place where I can put my cabinets so that they're side by side, so I have a wall of yarn. And we considered putting it, we have our basement is kind of sectioned off. We have a workout area, we have my crafting area, and then we have the main basement TV area. And because it looked, the cabinets go nearly to the ceiling, and I'm like, that would even make a nice wall, to separate one of the sections. But then we thought if we put it sectioning off the workout area, it would really limit us over in that area. Because right now, if we need more space for the workout area, we just push the couch out for a little bit and whatever. So we ended up moving our electric fireplace, which is basically just an ambiance thing, and we put that underneath the TV, and then we moved the yarn cabinets onto that wall. And I love it. I now sit on my couch. I can look at my fireplace with the fake fire and look at my yarn and knit and watch podcasts. And it is just so wonderful. Every time Steve came down last night and I would just look at the yarn, I'm like, oh, look how pretty. And he'd be like, oh my God. He doesn't understand. But I love having it all in one big wall. It's wonderful. And I've always been the kind of person that likes change, so I like to move the furniture around a lot, you know, just to freshen things up. So this was perfect. So that's all I have for today. I hope you have a great week. I hope you have time to do a little bit of knitting, and I hope your knitting blooms this week. Bye for now.